Flipping the creative industry on its head, Mark and I welcome Kent Boswell and Marcus Tesoriero from aiCandy. Let's go. You've gone from leadership to leadership role in the creative space, winning Cannes Award, building and creating some really exciting content.
I've done Hollywood feature films, hundreds of television commercials, tech, augmented reality, virtual reality. For the last 5 years of my career has been mainly working in that creative tech space.
There was so much talk around AI avatars, efficiencies in AI, touching a little bit on AI film generation.
Yeah.
But it was kind of still laughable even back then, like, 18 months ago,
Will Smith type stuff.
Will Smith eating spaghetti, right?
aiCandy is it's not a prompting tool. You are a production company essentially that's utilizing it.
Yeah.
We make the impossible. That's the whole ethos, is those impossible ideas can now be made.
Think of it as a top tier production company.
Yep.
But we don't use any cameras. Forward facing and going to pioneer this new form of filmmaking, and AI is obviously that. So
now the budgets come in, they're like, what can you do with 100 grand? When we first started, the budgets, you wouldn't get out of bed for less than 200 grand for it to shoot something, right?
Climate change is a headline. And to be able to tell that story and get it out there and articulate climate change in a different way so it's visual 5-6 years ago. And I remember pitching it, at the agency I was at the time, and getting told that for a million reasons it can't happen to be able to tell the story visually. It's never been able to be, it's never been done before. It's always been a headline or a chart or a chart or a graph, and sent it over to Gary Jules and his record label, and thinking, honestly, we'll probably never hear back. 36 hours later, he came back saying, I love the project, I'm in, and gifted us the song.
So what's your perspective on what it's doing to the creative space?
A lot of people fear change, right? And it's kind of like there is a bit of a monumental shift in industries that are happening. So it's very easy to go paint AI with one brush and go, it's all bad or it's all too much or whatever. But everything that we do is human creativity powered by AI efficiency. We still need, either working with brands, we come up with the ideas ourselves, or with agencies, bring us a killer script and don't quite have the budget and we can create it, right?
There's the headline, AI leaves a whopping carbon footprint. Everything leaves a carbon footprint. Us doing this podcast today is leaving a carbon footprint.
Yep.
When you compare AI film production against traditional film production, AI film production is far greener. And I'm talking 99% greener.
Let's go. Marcus, thanks for joining us, guys. It's a pleasure to have you here. I've been loving the journey that you guys have been on over the last 6 months. You've probably just experienced the biggest boom for your business.
Almost been 4 months.
Officially.
Yes,
okay.
but yeah, in terms of digging up starting the business, digging up our AI film directors across the planet, that's been an additional 9 months on top of that.
Yeah, wow.
It's been a long way in the making, but the last 4 months, lights on and officially launched.
It's like an iceberg, right? Like people see this part, like the official, but all the research, all the background, all the connections and stuff.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Like,
a lot of work went in. So when we did launch, we were ready to go like that.
Yep.
A lot of prep work, allowed us to then, be able to launch officially. Yeah.
Awesome. I mean, we'll dive into aiCandy, which is a really exciting product that you guys have been building. I'd love to start with a bit of your backgrounds and the journey that you've been on, because you've both had quite interesting career, from creative through to running and owning your own businesses and agencies. Like starting with yourself, Marcus. I mean, we crossed paths at DDB many years ago, and from there you've gone from leadership to leadership role in the creative space, winning Cannes Awards, building and creating some really exciting content, videos, productions. Talk to me about this journey that you've been on since I guess we last met.
I know. Well, it's been a while. And look, Ken and I have both been in the big agency network kind of space for many years, being at agencies that have won Cannes Lion Awards, as you said, NAD, Effies, all that type of thing, which we've been lucky enough to be part of as well, which is great. Like being part of that level of kind of ideation and craft, and anything from the film space to technology, etc. And we both had like a real kind of like thirst for new technologies over that time too. So amongst the kind of network agencies like DDB, Ogilvy, McCann, Dentsu, etc., I've also like spent a bit of time in tech-based kind of agencies too. So agencies that were mobile first, data first, commercial architecture, kind of always done that in between, like the big network agencies, just to kind of get a full spectrum. Like, and so artificial intelligence is obviously the next frontier, and Ken can tell you a bit about the story and how we met, but and how we kind of ideated this kind of idea of where we got to with aiCandy. But artificial intelligence is the next frontier, the next industrial revolution, and we both felt like the train is off and running, and we either jump on or we don't.
Get left behind, right?
Oh, 100%, absolutely. It's jump on or be left behind. Yeah, and it's moving so fast. Yeah, so for us, it's it's get on and pioneer this new frontier.
What was your background in the space?
Yeah, so my background, similar to Marcus, working at all the big agency, big networks. My career almost dissects into two sections. There's the first section, which is working on Hollywood feature films, big end productions, from a post-production point of view, visual effects. And then the other half is, advertising. And so I've worked on Hollywood feature films, hundreds of television commercials, tech, augmented reality, virtual reality. And I guess, probably for the last 5 years of my career has been mainly working in that creative tech space, and always looking to, find the kernel of a creative idea and push it right to the edge. I had this saying, take an idea and take it to the edge and play in that sweet spot just before it breaks. And that's when you're doing really interesting work that potentially hasn't been done before, world class, and is going to, capture the attention of the consumer. So look, for Marcus and I, obviously, AI, as Marcus said, is that next frontier, and we've gone boots and all in, which is great.
Fantastic. How did you guys meet? You mentioned, that so haven't always been connected. How long ago was that? How did that kind of happen? Was it because of AI or?
Well, we've known each other in the industry for, over 10 years.
Okay.
And I guess, going back to where aiCandy came from, we were in Cannes 24, wasn't it? 24, yeah. So, just over 18 months ago, and literally over a beer at a bar in Cannes, we were just sort of chatting about the Cannes Lions Festival that year. And one thing we noticed was, in particular, every second talk that year was about, guess what? AI. And over a beer, we were sort of thinking like, look, the industry's changing massively. This is not just a little sort of change, it's seismic, what's happening. And so if we were to use our skills and experience, what would we do that's forward facing and going to pioneer this new form of, filmmaking, and AI is obviously that. So that's where the inception for aiCandy was first born. And then, a whole range of checkpoints along the way between now and then allowed us to do what we're doing.
Yeah, Scott, I just adding to that, was like, in 2024, when we were at the Cannes Lions, there was so much talk around AI, avatars, efficiencies in AI, touching a little bit on AI film generation.
Yeah.
But it was kind of still laughable even back then, like, 18 months ago,
Will Smith type stuff.
Will Smith eating spaghetti, right? That's now the universal indicator of like how far AI film generation has got to, right? If you look at Will Smith eating spaghetti today, it's like astronomical, the change that's happened over the last 18 months. But, there was a Porsche spec ad in January after our conversation. We just kept them going. And it came out, Porsche spec ad came out like in around January this year, which it seems like eons ago, like forever. But when that came out, it was like, that could have been shot from Wes Anderson, beautifully scripted, voiceover over the top, the characters felt real. Like there was a few kind of bits, if you look at it now, like it felt a bit unreal, but it's like, wow, they're AI generated people, and those cars on the road, wow, they look slick. Wow, there was like, and it was that point when Ken and I were like, all right, it's actually officially ready to go. There was one more piece of the puzzle that we were kind of like, which is lip syncing. Like that was, we were waiting for that to hit, and we thought that wouldn't be ready even this year.
It was May this year.
May this year, Google VO3 cracked, and then that's when you've seen like
the real
everything kind of hit the market, and we've been talking about it ever since. But it was kind of a good and bad thing. It means like there's a lot of bad things going to market with people that, who are utilizing AI in the wrong ways and bad ways. But, what it means for us is that was the last piece, which is a go-to-market strategy for broadcast quality content that we can create with characters, with, big VFX, anything that we want to do and create now is at our hands and crafted at the right level. It can be beautiful work.
And I think we'll look back on 25 as the year where everything sort of clicked and locked into place. You know, pre-25 was what we were in sort of gimmick land.
Yeah.
Where it was like, oh, that's kind of cool, but you know, it's got no commercial reality. And 25 will be that year that we'll in 5-10 years time look back on and go,
That was
that
it.
was the year where everything locked in.
It's interesting that like this probably just on the lip syncing part that you say, because I've seen some ones where you get the AI like, and it sounds all great and stuff, except like Chris will be, like I'll be talking about something and then the AI will take over and it'd be my voice or the AI's voice switching over to the next character. It's like and it's a guy and girl or whatever. The girl takes over and they're both like mouthing, but it's coming out. It's weird when it's not done right, and you notice these.
Like you know, the human eye notices any little imperfection, you know, but now we're at a point where the synthetic voices that we create with the synthetic characters that we create is seamless. Wow. You know, so you can control the voice, you know, what sort of, you know, dialect language, you know, how, you know, the sound of the voice, and it will perfectly match to that character. And so the ability to be able to do that was what made this year. And that was that last piece of the puzzle that we needed to drop into place. And that was that moment we were.
I mean, even editing videos myself, like I know if there's this slight, even like a 0.001 of a millisecond off in a voice, it like throws the entire experience off. It's amazing, just that minutia of detail.
And sometimes you don't know
Breaks
what
the
it is,
realism.
that your brain
It does, yeah.
picks it.
Exactly.
But also and then that comes down, there are still, you know, AI as the film generation is not perfect on the first run, right? And that's where the level of craft comes through, where Kent and I, with our experience in, you know, production and creativity and, you know, the past 20 plus years in agency and filmmaking space, know the nth degree of when to stop crafting. And there's so many people who are like, oh, that's funny, get it out to market, and they're like, oh, it's got 6 fingers and it's kind of the sync's off or something. And it's like, and then people go, oh, AI's just not up to scratch. Well, it is, if it's in the right hands of people who will know when to stop crafting.
Everyone can have a hammer, but only a carpenter can really properly make something truly
Absolutely.
beautiful. And like you see that remember when it was like Mid-Journey and like the early image generation, some people anyone could create something, but the true craftsmen were the ones that knew exactly lighting effects and this type of camera and this type of lens. I'm like, whoa, like you really saw a big difference.
Yeah.
I think that's important.
It's shifting what creativity also means. And I really want to dive into that very shortly. You guys have had I think both of you have had some incredible leadership roles, as was touched on before, from, you know, creative director at brand agency Perth, executive creative director at Dentsu, chief creative officer at General Store, talking about yourself here, Marcus. With that transition through these leadership roles in a very creative space where traditionally, I wouldn't say tech hasn't touched it, but like that hasn't taken over that creativity element too much. How have you seen that evolution and transition from pre to post AI and what it's meant to a lot of people who are in that sort of space that you've been sitting in?
Yeah, I mean, it's not too much of a transition, to be honest. Like the process that, I mean, look, we do work for brands, agencies, production companies, but if we're to work just say on brands, it is exactly the same process. And to be honest, the efficiencies come in the AI film production, but when it comes to strategy and creative, it's exactly the same process, right? We'll go, you know, our first big project out of Paris got greenlit in our first month, and it was, you know,
second week.
Was it? Yeah. Second week. There you go.
You can do it. What?
It was like, bang, we're on. And, you know, very complicated model that, you know, it's a very, you know, famous in the e-commerce world, not a famous brand. And, you know, and in terms of a household name, because it sits in the back end of big companies like Macy's and Best Buy and whatever in the States. But trying to explain their e-commerce model to simplify it, we had to really break down the strategy and go through rounds of, right, we know you want to say this, but we need to say one thing properly and blah, blah, you know, go through the whole strategy round.
Yep.
Then go into creativity. Exactly what I've done at every other agency. We, you know, have a process called Idea Labs where we'll break down, you know, we'll stress test the strategy in 5 different directions and break that down and like, here are 5 different concepts, you know, going from our safest to the wildest, and like, we'll probably pick somewhere in between. And then we'll go, cool, let's go picture, go into full script, write the scripts. You know, I'll be a part of that journey. And Kent and I will both be like, you know, we both play, like roles together. Like we're both kind of creative, both production. So we're both
a lot of crossover.
yeah, a lot of crossover. So, and then we'll pull in, the freelance help that we require at certain times as well through that process. So that's normal, right? And that's, to be honest, in terms of agency land, nothing has changed. It's only when you then get into production, and most of the start of the pre-production is exactly the same too.
Well, I mean, even
Kent can talk about that.
Yeah, even production is like so similar. And so I guess, this new world that we're creating and pioneering, a lot of people are like, oh, AI, how does AI film production work? And once we get into a production, everyone's like, oh, wow, it's really familiar. And, so we've still got the same process, like, what does our cast look like, the AI characters? What do the locations look like, but they're AI locations, what does the storyboards look like? So there's all these very
storyboard.
Absolutely. So we'll do a pre-production meeting, which, everyone knows what a pre-production meeting is. So everyone has this expectation. And when we go into the pre-production meeting, they're like, oh, wow, this is really familiar. And instead of like, we'll see on set tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. for the shoot, we're now going to go and create the shots. And then we go into offline, sound mix, grade, and all of that. So it's really, really familiar and makes everyone feel super comfortable.
So you've been through, you were executive producer at Nakatomi, the director at Interactive at Traffic, apologies for that, and head of production for Tech and Innovation at Hallway as well.
Yeah.
So dealing with a lot of these people who are going through the production phases, or you mentioned it's like the people who are checking out the sites, the people who are looking at who are going to be the people present and what they look like and what they dress. You just mentioned there around that they're now utilizing AI tools to do that. So has there been an impact on people who aren't understanding of how to use these tools to be able to do that roles? Like what's happened to the person who used to go do all the site checks and the...
Yeah, look, I think we're going through this evolution right now. The industry is changing. Yeah. There's no question about it. And I think what we're doing is leading the way. So there is change, but I guess, if we look back, throughout our career, there's been a whole range of different checkpoints, where, going from film to digital. I remember, being on set, producer days, on a traditional shoot and calling, the lab and going, hold the bath. I'm coming over with the film stock. Like, no, seriously.
It's not ready, guys. Hold the bath. Need to get it in.
That.
I've got to feed the picture.
I need a one light, for the morning, so those days change, and we're going through another big change now. I mean, the change we're going through now is seismic. I've actually personally never seen it to this scale before.
And so quickly, right? That's
so quickly. Thing. Like, we're right on the edge of, the level of change happening. We're finding it hard to keep up. So it's moving that fast. Like something will come out and then a week later it's replaced with something new. And so we're constantly evolving with the change happening. But the roster of directors that we've signed, that are on our books, we've got 15 signed globally from all over the world. So, New York, LA, Stockholm, Tokyo, Barcelona, Paris, Morocco, Panama, the list goes on. They are the best of the best globally. So it took Marcus and I 9 months to a year to find them, sign them. They're signed now exclusively to us here in APAC, which is amazing. And so it allows us, and they've all got their own specialties. Again, like a traditional production company, someone might specialize in comedy or drama or sci-fi or whatever. And so a script will come in, Marcus and I will read it and we'll look at it and kind of go, that's a perfect fit for that person, and then engage them on the project and off we go. Yeah.
What's exciting about using the talent from around the world as well? In a traditional sense, like, if in Australia the budgets aren't as big, and it's like it'd have to be a seismic kind of budget to go, we need to get this person from LA or Paris or whatever to fly them over, put them up in a fancy hotel for 3 weeks, and all that. Don't need it anymore because they do their work from home. All the work comes on us because we start at like 6:30 a.m. and finish at 11 p.m. because we're kind of US in the morning, Europe at night, Australia in the middle, and dealing with the meetings. But from a client's point of view, they just see an edit at 9 a.m. every morning, right? Yeah. And here's where it's at, here's where it's at, and so They need to go and set. It's time efficiencies, and we get to use the best in the world without any extra cost of using someone in Australia as well, which is amazing, right? So we can use the very best talent in the world, not just in Australia, that's super exciting. That's super exciting. I just want to touch as well on your question about the change as well. And I feel like, yes, there's some change, but on a day-to-day level, that might be a little unsettling, but take a bigger picture view. This industry needs a change. You know, like it's slowly going downhill. Budgets keep coming down and down and down. They're not going up, right? And, you know, when we first started in advertising 20 plus years ago, you know, I used 20 plus.
It's a scary number.
It's great.
I literally just turned 40 a couple of days ago, so you know, I'm a bit younger than you guys, but it's like, just to say 20 years now, it's fine.
Yeah, I'm almost 40.
There you go. I'm older than you. Oh God, I'd be up
30s.
Like, yeah.
I'll give you all the tips on what happens as soon as I cross the knees fall apart, ankles.
No, but look, you know, budgets keep coming down and down. And it's like when we first started, you know, the budgets, you know, you wouldn't get out of bed for less than 200 grand to shoot something, right? Now the budgets come in, they're like, what can you do with 100 grand? You know, like to do like a big brand spot. It's like you have to say no, or you go to a production company and you end up using like the kid they got on the roster that's just out of film school, and then you end up half directing the spot yourself, and then all the onus comes back on you as the creative director to kind of like all the things that go wrong. It's like the agency's fault, right? Like and what the exciting thing is now is like we can create what we call we make impossible ideas possible. That's our whole ethos, and the main crux of that is that like high quality expectations have remained a constant. They like clients will not budge on quality. That needs to stay the same, if not better. Like, you know, people expect the very best. As films get better, they want to see their advertising the same as what they see on screen. But budgets keep coming down and down, and there's a number of reasons for that. You know, higher interest rates, the spread of budgets across not just advertising into search, digital, kind of all the different spaces that budgets needs for whatever reasons. That it's now come down as like, for this production, you have X amount, and it's so much less than what it used before. So in between those high quality expectations and decreasing budgets, ideas are becoming more and more impossible to make. And that's where we sit, is now because the obvious cost savings and time savings, which are, you know, like not minor, like that we can actually turn like what would be a regular, you know, sometimes mundane script, or, you know, content-y kind of script into a big level, you know, Super Bowl level production, you know, just have someone running down the street in urban Sydney. Well, let's have them running across the Himalayas, and let's have 10 people doing it with them, because the talent's free and there's no rollover fees, and you know, we don't have to wait for weather holds because it's sunny every day, or we want it rainy instead. Like, you know, like there's amazing things you can do to create impossible ideas, which would have been formerly impossible.
It's interesting because a lot of people think of like initially with the things that AI can do within a business, like I'm thinking from a corporate setting, but just like any kind of use case it's like, well, how do we get it to automate and make easier and more efficient, like the existing kind of workflows? That's great. But I've seen and trying to drive this myself, it's like, that's great, but it's still a race to zero because it's lowering costs and the pressure that you were describing there in your industry. But it's where this new technology becomes something that you can actually create new things that you would never have thought about before. We were just discussing this, you know, earlier in the prep. There's all that creativity that only comes from having experts that go, actually, now that I understand this, still experts that understand both sides. It's their industry really well, as you guys clearly do, but then it's what the tech does and coming up with something. You're not just doing the same old thing that we've been doing before, but like, then what else can we do? What does that kind of look like from a, you know, boundary breaking perspective for you guys?
Well, I think like a good answer to that is our mantra is we make the impossible.
Yep.
And so we've all got, you know, bottom drawers full of ideas, you know, where ideas that for a million reasons could never happen. And so when we started aiCandy, you know, living to that mantra, let's make the impossible. We looked in our bottom drawers, and there was an idea, that I had in mind from probably 5-6 years ago. And I remember pitching it, at the agency I was at the time, and getting told, look, for a million reasons, it can't happen. And you know what, those reasons at the time were 100% valid. But with what we're doing, and we can literally do anything, we pulled it out, we made it, and it's a United Nations film, which I don't know if you can play during. Yeah,
Okay, we can.
That'll be fine.
What I'll do is we'll put a link.
Yep.
Somewhere around here.
Put a link, just click there.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Check it out. Definitely check it out. It's very good.
It's been a career highlight moment bringing that film to life. It really has, because it's an idea that would have stayed in the bottom drawer and never seen the light of day. And bringing it out and telling that story and telling the story to the world, it helps reframe climate change, because climate change is a headline. And I think it's kind of just walking
Very
over us all.
now, yeah.
And to be able to tell that story and get it out there and articulate climate change in a different way so it's visual, and also using AI data to dictate what the outcome could look like. So it's all
because you gathered information actually from climate sources and utilize
Real
that data to predict what would happen, and then you utilize
real data,
your engine to create the image.
strategically pulled from like number of different resources to use actual real data of what's rising sea levels will look like in different countries across the world, specifically to those countries. We could then, and give Kent full credit for being the AI film director on this too. He's the only one who's actually up to standard that we feel in Australia, who can get to the level of craft that we want to get to, which is what we use a lot of people across the world. And we're looking for more, and we're talking for more. There's some starting to pop up now, but the work that that Kent did into putting to accurately demonstrating what that rising sea level looks like in Tokyo, in Mumbai, New York, Amsterdam, underneath, bikes submerged and etc. It really puts it from what was formerly like just a graph, which feels like not human and whatever, into something real with emotion. And let Kent talk about it, but we've got an amazing track, Mad World, over the top, which
is an amazing moment. Like we threw that track down onto the timeline. And when we watched it, we were like, oh my God, that's the song.
Yeah.
And so we had one of the early offlines, and literally sent it over to Gary Jules and his record label, and thinking, honestly, we'd probably never hear back. 36 hours later, he came back saying, love the project, I'm in, and gifted us the song. And,
so you're in.
which is just like, I still get,
I got good sweet.
Such a cool moment to be able to go, oh wow, we're using AI for good to tell a story that's going to change, hopefully create change. And having Gary Jules give us his song to use for the project was a really cool moment.
It was I'm a massive gamer myself, and there was a game that came out in it's ages. It's going back to Xbox 2, the Xbox 360. It was Gears of War, and it was a kind of an under the radar game, but they also used the Mad World song, and that song on the trailer just boosted.
You get the feel.
It got the feels. It's amazing how much a tune can impact the visuals and the emotion of a game.
It's a lovely demonstration as well of AI film generation with a real world track. It doesn't all have to be AI. There can components that can be used in different ways. We often still do proper. We'll, on a finished spot, we'll do a proper sound mix across spots, because we find that fine tuning. We want to be in the booth and be kind of
we're just looking at every little layer of craft, the grade, the color, we'll go to a colorist, the sound mix, and just everything, everything that goes out the door from an aiCandy point of view has to live up to the brand that we're building and be world class.
And it's just tech at the end of the day. We spoke a little bit about it before, but we're using Adobe or DaVinci and other kind of tools and stuff, and it's got. So the definition of AI, sure, the world now knows AI, but that's generative AI, which is the neural networks and all that tech behind that. But there's all this other AI that's in everyday products that we use. We don't care about AI then. In blockchain, the space that I've come from in the past or still work in, they say that the success is going to be when people aren't talking about blockchain anymore. It's just they're using it. It's payment rails. It's getting instantaneous payments and escrow is very cheap and all that kind of stuff. But it's just finance tech at the end of the day. I think that success will be for us. Like, yeah, it's still early. It's AI very centric, but
It's the
like
difference
it's
between-
tech.
It's the
right?
difference between product and feature. Like it's like you're utilizing it in a way that it isn't a product. You're utilizing it in a way that it is a feature of the craft that you guys.
Well, it's a
utilize.
tool.
It's a tool.
It's
Yeah,
a tool at the end of the day. And I often think, and it's probably mid next year, so it's not far off where we'll actually stop talking about AI like we are talking about it, today.
Yeah.
I hope so.
It'll just be a thing.
And it'll just be a thing. It's almost like, you don't talk about the camera that you're using. It's a tool.
Yeah.
People do
So
laugh
for us-
sometimes though.
Yeah. Sometimes.
So but for us, it's, AI is literally just a tool. And we often get asked the question, which one do you use? Like it's just this one magic silver bullet. we use all of them.
Yeah.
And it's not about, oh, that one. It's like, what's the right tool to tell the best version of that story? And it might be for that one, use that, but actually for this story, it's this.
You're a chef. You're looking at the
Absolutely.
right ingredients to create the masterpieces, right?
Looking at the industry broadly, there's a lot of positive and negative discussions around, especially the creative element that brings to all of this. You got the Paul McCartneys, Joseph Gordon-Levitt's of the world who are like, AI is a great thing, but it shouldn't rip creative people off. Or as long as AI company can copy all of our content into their models at no cost and spit out quasi new content for close to no cost, there's no logical business case for paying human creators anymore. With the stuff that you're doing, obviously there's a lot of benefit around that creative element that it does bring, and that innovative way that's changing what creativity means. How are you seeing, I guess, what's your perspective on what it's doing to the creative space, particularly where AI generation is, while it is building on the creative ideas that you may have, it is still machine learning off of other people's content. So what's your perspective on that and what it's doing?
Yeah, look, there's two parts to that. Firstly, like, it's not just built off people's art. AI is built off every piece of content that the world has uploaded to the internet for the last 40 years.
Which is billions of data points.
Billions of data points. Yeah. And yeah, look, it's whatever people uploaded, it's kind of utilizing that in different ways and forming different ways of doing things. But in terms of creativity, a lot of people, obviously fear change, right? And it's kind of like there is a bit of a monumental shift in industries that are happening. So it's very easy to go paint AI with one brush and go, it's all bad or it's all too much or whatever. But everything that we do is human creativity powered by AI efficiency. We still need, either working with brands, we come up with the ideas ourselves, or with agencies, bring us a killer script and don't quite have the budget, and we can create it, right? And we can create it on more moderate budgets. We still need human ideas. Like, you cannot go into ChatGPT and go, give me an award-winning, Cannes Lion-winning film script on mobile phones for Telstra. Press go. It doesn't happen. Like, you need to sit there in a room, laptop close, and think about what that based off the strategy, what that idea will come up with, and go back and forth and ideate and get with clients and brainstorm.
Yep.
Same process. And once you get to AI film generation, so in terms of like creating new content, it's not, there's a lot of slop out there that borrows kind of trends and replicates kind of, stunty, memey kind of things. But like in terms of like real true stories, that still comes from the heart. It comes from humans. And in fact, we don't see ourselves as an AI company. We see ourselves as a story company, right? Like we create great stories. That's what, and it's a similar ethos to, like we actually stumbled across the other day, like a great, news clipping from Steve Jobs when he was CEO of Pixar many years ago. Like, he was CEO of Apple and then kind of left and then became CEO of Pixar and then Apple again after. But when he was CEO, he transformed that company from a technology company and doing different things, and a cartoon company, if you will, to, a world-class story company for animation. And you can see that through this Toy Story franchise that he was part of starting. And when it got to Toy Story 3, that was nominated in the Academy Awards for Best Picture, not Best Animation, Best Craft or anything like that. Best Best Picture amongst the best films in the world, and it was nominated in the top 4 films of the world that year. So that just goes to show that they had this ethos of story, 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 and they got to the very world's best work, and that will continue. And that's what we see ourselves as, is like creating amazing stories through, you know, what the scripts that agencies bring us, or the, you know, the stories that we create ourselves, and or how we can elevate any idea, and then use AI, the efficiencies of AI, to bring that to life, and bring more ideas to life than ever before, which is the exciting thing.
You guys know as well, like, which is because you know your craft before all of the new techs come in. You actually know, well, for this particular process, and when you understand the model from that side, like those two things, like Steve understood art and he understood tech, obviously.
Yeah.
You know, he didn't build all the stuff, did all of that. I know there's people that will argue that, but like, because he had that general knowledge of like both sides, he was able to merge that together in a way that creates beautiful things.
Right. Yeah.
But same thing here, like, unless you actually knew your art form beforehand, you can't just use the tech. A tech person coming in will not do as well as just, you know, someone with the combined experience. So I think it's really key to show people this is not just humans in the loop, this is experts, total expertise in the loop.
I see what you did there.
Well, we have this, you know, analogy that we use in our creds deck where, you know, it's an image of a F1 fighter jet with a set of keys on the table, and the reason for that is, like, in theory, you know, AI is available to anyone and everyone.
Yep.
But in the wrong hands, people that don't understand filmmaking, don't understand craft, don't understand storytelling, all the things we do and our roster do, you're just going to create more AI slop. So, you know, with the analogy, it's like, in theory, I could hand the keys to, you know, an F1 fighter jet and say, jump in, take over a spin. Yeah, I know how you're going to go. I know how I would go, crash and burn. And it's the same thing with AI. In the wrong hands, you're just adding to more AI slop that's out there in the market. And for us, you know, going back to your question, Chris, you know, a second ago, we are, you know, intrinsically, we are a top tier AI creative film production company. That's what we are. And so for us, it's all about creating original content, you know, stories that haven't been told before, stories that, you know, make the audience feel something, connect, strike an emotion, and, you know, obviously, you know, add to the, you know, the brand message that we're trying to sell. But ultimately, if we can make the audience feel something, and that United Nations is a really good example of that, because it hits you right there, and it makes you stop and think. And the beautiful thing about that, and all the work we're doing, no one really thinks of, oh, that's an AI production.
Yeah.
Like, if any audience goes, oh, that's a really nice AI, you know, film, we've failed doing our job. It's about creating films and stories that just are out there, and AI is in the back room that's allowed us to generate these stories and get them out in market.
I love it. There's a few things that I really like. So there's one of the first things, as you touched on, was the AI is obviously trained on billions of touch points to do things. I mean, so are people. So when someone says AI is copying the creative elements of everyone else, it's like, you were trained on those elements. When you create something, whether you're doing a painting, or you were inspired by by some sort of painter, you didn't do it from scratch.
That's right.
There's also an element that I touch on a lot when I talk about this for myself in the creative space, is that you're partnering with AI. It's not replacing you. You are utilizing it as a tool, as you guys talk about, which means it's elevating the work that you're doing, not replacing the work that you're doing. If on the other side of that is that if it is something new that is outside of that sort of copy paste world of that AI can't yet do, we will still pick it up and do it ourselves. Like, we will do things without AI. We can still be creative without AI. And so if you think that there is a challenge to that, go and do the thing without AI and have fun with that and utilize it. Something you hinted at, which I also liked, was the difference between, and you said it as well with the slop, the difference between creating content and creative as content.
That's right.
There's a big difference between the two, right? You are, as a creative, going in, you're doing something, you're creating craft, you're building a human emotion into something to make people feel. You're not just plugging in a keyword and pushing it out there. It's not like it's a shitty thing.
I think that and look, that's where it utilizes, Kent, in my experience, right? You know, to replicate the model that we've got, like, you would need to have two people that have, like, a love of technology
Yeah.
and an understanding and love of film craft, and the experience of 20 plus years like in the commercial and marketing space, putting all that together on a daily basis within tight formats, right? You know, and so that's where Ken and I come in, like using it, you know, either whether it's us creating and producing, and you know, a lot of people who are doing the kind of thing that we're doing sometimes one-man bands or two-man bands or whatever, but we're us plus utilizing the best of the world. So, and you know, knowing the level of craft to get to, like so much, going to the F1 fighter jet analogy, people are flying F1 fighter jets into the wall because they don't know that level of craft. They'll get things out to the world after their first edit, you know, and go, right, okay, let's get it out. And it's like got 6 fingers and there's crazy things happening and the sync's off and whatever. And it's like, yeah, but there's a bit of an idea there. Well, that's not craft.
Yeah.
It's like once we know when to stop crafting. And if our AI film directors, who all have world-class experience, they know when to stop. And if we don't feel us up to scratch, we say, go again. Like we need to keep going. And to the point,
we're building a brand, and you know, we've got to hit that level of quality on all of our projects, you know, because
Exactly.
that's the work we're putting out in market. And it's interesting, like we'll get, you know, a lot of clients approach us with a project and say, look, here it is, here's a script, da 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 da, you know, we need to get it done in a week. And it's like, you're chatting to the line.
It's not what we're about.
It's just not the work we do. The work, while it's a significant, obviously, budget saving with, you know, working in AI and time saving, it's just not the work we do. You know, we want to give ourselves and our team the right amount of time to craft the project so the films go out and they're on brand with aiCandy.
And I love that it's the other thing is you're actually elevating and challenging a space, an industry that probably needs that challenge in the creative space right now. As you know, we talk about AI slop, but there's also a lot of cinema slop and like repeating the same content, developing movies that have already been developed. I mean, even in the video game industry, the same thing is happening. It's just copy paste stuff. So this has like been an opportunity for people to really be pushed in the creative space to do things that they haven't been able to do before, as you touched on, but also haven't done because they've been too lazy. And it's like, wait, now we can clearly see that you're copying pasting. You got to really step up your game, and because the expectation, the bar is lower up, I was higher now, so you need to stand out. You got to properly be creative.
Well, we all, you know, we often say we all need to retrain our brain.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is, you know, for our entire careers, we've kind of gone down one path of, you know, creating content, and it's worked beautifully. But now we've got this completely other path, you know, that is a huge unlock for creativity and ideas, and can take an idea to another level that we just couldn't go to before. And so that's really exciting. So everyone's kind of, you know, the whole industry's got to kind of go, you know, we can do things differently and rethink how we can approach creating films and content.
It's a step up of a level, right? Like if the rising
It's a game changer.
It is a game changer. And there's a saying I worked in finance for a while, and there's this saying around like investments, like the rising tide lifts all boats, and when things turn bad, like you really see who's out there like properly paddling or whatnot. But AI in the initial sense, like everyone got access to it and all the tools and stuff. And everyone said, oh, look, I can create this, I can create that. But after a while, you're like, oh, hang on a second. The ones that really stand out are the ones that know their craft, the artists, the master chefs, so to speak, and actually are able to use it within a proper professional kind of workflow. I think that's really key.
Well, it's actually a point that I wanted to land as well about our AI film directors. It's like, they're not, when we say AI film directors, you're probably picturing an 18-year-old kid in their bedroom, kind of who knows the tech. It's actually quite the opposite. Quite often, they're people in their 40s or even 50s, like very experienced film directors, like ex-film directors, traditional film directors, or creative directors, or colorists, or editors, or someone who knows everything. That's the perfect package.
Yeah.
And so when we interview and talk and test the best AI film directors around the world, we often get into beyond what you've done, what's your experience? Because we want to know that they understand traditional craft. It's almost like learning the AI tools is the easy part.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's when people go, yeah, I know all the tools and I know Google VR3. It's like, yeah, what experience have you had in filmmaking? Because they need to have that knowledge first. So all our AI film directors across the planet have at least 10 to 20 years experience in film production, commercial, sense, and
Talk
film
the
events.
Importance of process, right?
Yeah,
It's,
exactly.
yeah.
And then I've spent the last 6 to 18 months learning the tools.
Yep.
Right. That's the small part. But we want people with all that experience, and that's where you get the best work.
Because that's vital. Having that experience that they can bring over, and we almost use the analogy, sort of crossing over and jumping, to the other side, which obviously we've done, and haven't looked back for a second. But having that experience that they can bring with them when they sort of do cross over and step into this AI world of filmmaking is just vital. Because they'll understand the difference between holding on that shot for an extra 2 frames to land that comedic moment or not. And you can't teach
So
that.
subtle.
Yeah, it's so subtle, and you can't teach it. You've either got it, and you've got it because you've accrued it in your career with your skills and experience, or you don't have it. So yeah.
It's an interesting point because like right now, just wider industry, the biggest worry right now is like, oh, if AI is going to do all the jobs that a paralegal does, or like a junior or intern, or like someone just out of uni, what's going to happen? How are they going to get experience? But here's the thing: it's like those jobs will be different. Like what a junior does in a job because of these new tools. We still need juniors because they have to get experience, but it's going to be very, very different. We're just thinking of it like, oh, AI's automated that, as if like, well, AI, technology is automated farming. Oh no, we don't have jobs. We're not farmers anymore. We evolved, right? We created new things, and I feel like it's going to be the same. And so people will still have to get that experience in using the new tools that are out there now, because
More coffee orders.
More coffee orders, obviously, still a thing. But I just feel like it's
So true.
not this Chicken Little, the sky is completely falling. No, there's still a need for the experience, which you guys clearly show.
We spoke about this when we caught up, and really interesting statistics, and obviously did a lot of research into this. And throughout the entire world, one of the biggest things that people talk about when it comes to AI is the impact on the environment. You've done this amazing video with the Mad World, and it touches on the impact on the environment and what we're seeing the future go with everything. Tell me what you've discovered in terms of the impact on the environment of how you are now producing your content, or your cinema and your movies and your videos alike, versus the old school way, traditional way.
I can take this one. So I guess, look, AI gets a bad rap.
Does
there's the headline, AI leaves a whopping carbon footprint. Everything leaves a carbon footprint. Us doing this podcast today is leaving a carbon footprint.
Yep.
So I think it's really important to kind of just step back.
Cameras off, guys. We need to.
No, but I think it's important to kind of step back, and we've actually done a lot of research on it because it is a question that comes up. And when you compare AI film production against traditional film production, AI film production is far greener, and I'm talking 99% greener.
Yeah.
So traditional film production, the 30-second TVC, lights, camera, 3-phase power, set builds, travel, creates on average 40 tons of CO2. So, it's huge.
Yeah.
AI film production, 30-second TVC, creates 50 kilograms.
Wow.
So it's 99% greener. And so to, these numbers, 40 tons, what does that mean? 40 tons of CO2 equates to 16 hot air balloons completely full.
Yeah.
50 kilograms is 2% of one hot air balloon.
Probably just like a little balloon.
Yeah. So, it's kind of, really bursts that bubble of AI is bad for the environment when you compare apples for apples.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of the thing is, this is the discussion I have that people don't realize. It's not necessarily the AI, you individually using it. It's the fact that it has been adopted by so many people. Yeah. It's now the volume is usage when it comes, it's the mass adoption, right? It's the same thing that happened with blockchain, right? Became a massive adoption, something that was just the technology that became always on. That's why the consumption was so high. And when you have this volume of easy adoption of tech, unfortunately, it's going to have a CO2 impact. But there are areas where it will create opportunity to reduce those impacts, such as what you said in the production.
Totally. It's like, it's very easy, again, to paint AI with one brush. It's, there are different forms that's changing the industry. And, yes, AI film production, AI in general uses a lot of CO2 if you compare it to turning on a light switch, right?
Yeah.
Because of everyone in the world is using ChatGPT because it's so useful, right? So it's using a lot. But as Kent mentioned, if you take that away and you look at traditional film production compared to AI film production, is small team of people using it between a massive team traveling across the world, lights on, blah, blah, blah. Like when you look at it from that perspective, you're like, oh wow, it is actually so much greener.
Yep.
Like 99% greener.
Yeah, which is wild when you think about it.
100%.
But then when you also step back and think about it, it's like, well, yeah, of course it would be. Yeah.
So when we talk to a lot of brands these days that are B Corp certified, that is a huge tick. AI film production in its favor over traditional film production.
It was interesting. When we first started, I think it was first month, we were chatting with the client, and that was one of the points that came up in conversation. And we explained almost like we just did then, and it completely reframed their perception. Like those stats are based off white papers. It's factual, and so it reframed their position and allowed us to win the project.
It's lifting the hood underneath these, lifting the hood on these things, because otherwise people just hear the news and see the catastrophe,
and it just becomes hearsay. It's like
to prove that point, the United Nations would not have endorsed our film
Exactly.
about the 2030 sustainability goals, right? Unless we were greener than traditional. Like they've done the numbers as well. So it's and talking to the president of the United Nations in Australia recently, they're so excited about this film about going global and going to New York and like potentially reaching the advocates across the world, who we all know.
Yes, there's a whole like timeline now that we're putting in place for that film just to really maximize its reach, which is
because they can see the it's living by the ethos. AI film production is living by the ethos of supporting the 2030 sustainability goals, because it's actually using AI in a positive way for the planet.
So it gives them an asset that they've never had before, in this film, to be able to tell the story visually, because it's never been done before. It's always been a headline or a chart or a graph. And, I think, society just becomes blind to those things. It's like, oh yeah, there's another headline or another graph, and it's just,
I can imagine so many scenarios where, it's gone from a world, and I come from that data science kind of world where it's like numbers in a spreadsheet. It's like, oh, what does it do? But then you turn it into a graph and go, oh, cool, and I can interact with it, and great. But this is like taking it to that next level, especially for things that really need it. So it's that leveling up again, because like you said at the start, like you see these graphs, you see these charts, but it's not impactful. Well, now that coupled with the creativity, coupled with, hey, thank you, Gary Jules, for like letting this song be used. Like it really, that's where it hits.
Yeah.
And then the next one will be taking it further. So I think, we'll just be on this continuous, impactful kind of like next steps. So that's great.
Yeah. Adding to that point, the thing I love about the UN film is it's really set a high benchmark for our studio. And I love that. Yeah. Now everything needs to ladder up to that project.
That's awesome.
And that's for our, debut project, which is that is our first project we put out in market. I love that it's really set that high precedent and that high bar for us to live up to.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
And there's so much more coming.
Yeah, we've got 6 projects currently in production right now.
Yeah.
And they all range, like comedy, drama, there's sci-fi projects. So they're all in production now. They'll be coming out in the coming months. So we can't wait to get them out there.
Because aiCandy is it's not a prompting tool. It's not like any person can go in and start generating stuff. Like you are a production company essentially that's utilizing it.
Yeah.
Tell me about the process that someone would go through engaging with you guys to produce something like, the Mad World video that you guys did.
Well, I mean, look, it's easy to kind of think of us as, we often describe ourselves as, think of us as a top tier production company.
Yep.
But we don't use any cameras.
Yeah.
That's it. So, a client or an agency might have a script. They'll come to us. We'll obviously review it in detail. Marcus and I will then sort of go, that person probably could be the perfect fit for that project. Share the script with them, see if they're interested in the project. If they are, they'll put forward a treatment. It's, again, as I was saying earlier, like it's just all the same process, and that's familiar to everyone. Put forward a treatment, obviously a budget. get it signed off, and off we go. And then off we go on that journey of, you know, what does the cast look like, the locations, storyboards, you know, all the way through to mastering.
Once they see that process, it's kind of like, okay, you're exactly like traditional film production, but you're more efficient, faster, and more cost effective.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What do I sign? So it's kind of like,
No brainer.
What are the types of tools that are changing the things that you guys are doing?
Well, we use all of them, you know, so there's no, as I was saying, there's no silver bullet, you know, like we literally use all of them. And for us, they're just tools. You know, it's like, you know, what's, you know, your favorite lens, you know, it's kind of like, you know, what's the right tool for that project that's going to allow us to tell that story. So we literally use all of them. There's probably 30 of our favorites, and there's more.
Yeah.
And, you know, our entire roster scattered all over the globe, you know, world-class across all of them. So, you know, it's funny, like we actually never really talk about the tools. It's kind of like, this is the project. This is what we've got to do. This is the perfect directive for that project. And I mean, yeah, it does come up in conversation, but it's not.
Can we talk about the tools? Because I think people listening are going to be interested about the tools as well.
Sure. Well, I mean, we use all of them. I mean, you know, and they're going to be brands you know. So VO3, Higgsfield, or Runway, Journey, like
Then sorry, Nano Banana, which is the funny name for what Google's got. You've got the banana on the shirt there.
Yeah.
So I think that's cool.
we love bananas.
So does my dog.
But yeah, it's again, it's like, you know, what's right for the project, and you know, there's a whole range from an audio, 11 Labs, Suno, you know, that allows us to do some amazing stuff. Yeah, Suno's incredible.
Yeah,
we use
what you can do.
All of our audio is done with Suno as well. So it's
and the thing is, next week there'll be a new tool.
Exactly.
And the week after that there'll be another one. You know, so it's for us, you know, keeping off with the tools, and also making sure our roster is, you know, up to speed on everything, so we can always be using the latest to tell the best stories.
Yeah,
I was going to say, go ahead.
but we're also, you know, like we're creative partners with Leonardo.ai and
Free pick.
Yeah. So
yeah,
and we're very tight with the AI community, and making sure we're up to date with the right tools, and also the creative festivals and etc. So we're kind of really part of that unit. But it's funny when you ask about tools. It's like it's almost like coming to a production company and say, "Tell me what cameras you use."
Yeah.
It's that kind of thing.
Or what lens.
And we understand we use it, but it's kind of like, it's when it comes to, like, it's really a normal process until you get to the AI film production, right? And which, you know, either, you know, Kent and I are part of, if it's our own particular project like the UN, and it's just us kind of working on the different takes and the edit, and kind of like, you know, going the extra mile on what tools we use to kind of get to that level. But when we're working on other projects, it's exactly the same. Like, you know, either we are a creative and production company, right? Like we're a bit of both in one, but we're mainly a production company and with a creative resource, I guess you'd say. So agencies might bring us that killer script, and we'll suggest ways that we can elevate that script from a creative standpoint, knowing the abilities of AI and the different platforms.
And coming back to the retraining your brain.
Yeah. Like, or it's like we start from scratch with a brand and go through strategy, creative, etc., until we get to the AI component, and then it's either over to our film directors across the world using their different platforms and our partners and whatnot, or might be doing the work himself.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's why it's kind of like talking about the tools. We know about the tools, but it's almost like a production company knowing what cameras are available, and using the red camera, using extra, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, like, I think it's the, you know, it's right in front of your face kind of like moment kind of thing, because you guys as like creative directors and leading creative as part of the work that you do in this production company, I think it's not just in your industry. I think given what the change is going on right now, this just hit me that even ordinary companies, if they're going to adopt AI, they have to think about it as a creative process, because it is not just about the workflows and making things efficient, but how do you create new things in your space, in healthcare, finance, etc. Right? And it's almost like if you're going to do that, you need a production company either outside or a production or creative and production company on the inside, but it's that creativity with AI that's really going to break things down. Because like as you speak, it's like there's so many lessons there for founders. I think if they're like, well, how do I use this in my space? Like think about it from the creative process that you guys go through. I just thought that was like quite profound.
It's actually funny, like when we speak to a lot of agencies for like, obviously we work with brands and agencies and production companies, but when we speak to agencies, a lot of the big ones, like they have an AI guy, and that's their kind of, that's their box tick to, like they've either got an AI guy who kind of understands what's happening in the space, production, whatever, or they might have an AI editor as part of the creative department, right? And they treat it like almost like the in-house editor. The in-house editor is like usually the person who does like the the case studies for award entries and whatever, but you wouldn't use your in-house editor to do your latest big brand spot for X brand. Like you wouldn't do that. You'd use a production company, right? And so it's like retraining the brain of agencies to go, if you're going to do a big spot and you want a big production, do you do that with your in-house editor or do you do it with a production company? And we are that production company in the AI space, right? And it's kind of like trying to get people to understand that if you want to get to that level of creativity, use someone that understands the AI world, the production world, the creative world, who can elevate your script into a space that that can give that idea, that extra 20, 30, 40% that you want.
We'll take an idea that would be here to a Super Bowl level commercial.
I think it talks to a lot of the problem with AI in the industry at the moment, and generally speaking, is like people just implementing a strategy that just doesn't fit the way that the business is working or the industry is working or whatever it is that they're doing. By plugging in this one person, like, here's the AI guy, it doesn't solve the fundamental problem or introduce a solution to like the strategy that needs to be resolved across the business.
I think it gives a nod to the shareholders and the higher stakeholders that they've got AI ticks.
Exactly.
And it's like, it's not really solving a problem, but it's a placeholder to go, we're thinking about AI, but they're not really doing anything. And it's kind of, that's when we speak to a lot of agencies and brands, they're kind of like, we're actually executing properly in AI. We feel comfortable with people that know what the hell they're doing.
Exactly.
And have that level of craft and creativity on top of that. They're not just tech guys, they're creative guys and production guys as well.
And it talks to that human in the loop, which is what against your whole business is pretty much a model about, or the expert in the loop is the term that we like to use now. And that expert in the loop is essentially, it should be anyone utilizing these tools. If you're going to introduce AI, don't just put a person in there. It's either train your whole team up or train the business up, or like you said, introduce like a third party, a company, an agency who is integrated with AI, knows how to use it, who can then elevate the rest of the business.
Well, we often find like, we're getting pretty much nearly every agency in town reaching out, wanting to meet with us. And once we go in and sort of run through our creds deck with them, you can almost hear a, sigh of relief in the room. It's kind of, because
you're our allies. Okay, right.
Yeah, well, it's like we're there to help them tell stories that they couldn't tell because of a whole range of different reasons that they can now tell. And, going back to what Marcus was saying, we've got decreasing budgets, increased expectations, and those two worlds don't normally ever meet. Whereas
impossible.
What we can do is, aiCandy can bring those two worlds together. And when we explain that and show the work that we're doing and talk about our roster of directors, you can literally, as I said, almost hear a sigh of relief.
But you guys are as much a partner to them as AI is a partner to the stuff that you do.
It's like we're not, because we're not the AI people taking away their creativity. We want human creativity, powered by AI efficiency. So, and we can help with those decreasing budgets. We've been in the industry. We've seen over the last 5-10 years, we've been part of the pain of seeing those budgets come down. We have a solution. It's almost like, saying like the industry needs a solution to the problem, like of that change. The industry needs change. Like, it's almost like, oh, you're here to kind of save us in a way. There is a way that we can get things done cheaper and faster, like at a high quality level.
I think it's interesting because like in the blockchain space, where, and again, I'll go back to that because it is a place that it's AI's always been around. We've always had data science and all these like kind of things. Machine learning and neural nets were even around well before it all became popular. But just going back to it, like blockchain has faced the critiques.
Yeah.
It's faced the challenges, and sure, it's still going through its thing with regulation and all that kind of stuff. But in terms of like relating it back to this, like the things that AI is really showing with what you guys have got is that it's not out to get you. You know, like it's out to it's there as a new tool, and if you get to know it, it's if you get to know it, you will be less likely to be overcome by it. And in the blockchain space, that's why we were arguing that we need to work with the banks, the central banks, and doing things in that traditional space, because a lot of the crypto space is all about anti-establishment and don't do things the traditional way, go away from the banks, do this. And it's like, no, but we need to understand what that side is doing to really, you know, bring to light the capabilities. And I think with AI, what you're saying, that we need to, you guys are actually using it, because unless creators actually use it, then it's going to overwhelm, right? So I think it's great that you guys are doing that.
We've seen that. We've experienced the real world problem of decreasing budgets. Like the last 2-3 agencies especially is like, whoa, this has gone from like getting harder to like it's becoming impossible, which is why we make the impossible. That's the whole ethos, is those impossible ideas can now be made.
On that, as we come to a close, like where are we going? Where are you headed? Like, what's the next step in this element in terms of where the tech is currently? I mean, obviously one of the biggest ticks with the box was the having that voice alignment. Obviously things are going to continue to evolve. So where do we see that next evolution in this space?
It's a good question. I mean, look, for the first time in my career, I've always normally been able to sort of see, you know, 5 years ahead.
Yeah.
It is moving so fast. So it's really hard to kind of...
Questions for next month.
It's
or next week.
It is almost like that, you know, to be able to go, oh, in 5 years' time, AI film production will be here. It's almost impossible to answer that because it's moving so quickly.
Yeah.
You know, like, if you ask me, you know, what we can do today, back in January, like, I just look back on the last 12 months we've had, and that evolution has just been like unprecedented, you know, what we can do in these unlocks. So I almost can't even imagine the next 12 months, you know, but what I do know is we're going to continue to be able to tell stories we've never been able to tell before, better, faster, more efficient, and cheaper. And that's a really exciting space for creativity, because for us, it's allowing us to unlock potential that we just couldn't access before, and tell these amazing stories and get these ideas off the ground. So yeah, it's super exciting. In short, is your answer.
It's kind of, and some would say, oh, the tools are getting better, so therefore it's going to be easy for everyone to do it. It's like, no, it just means there's faster, more efficient F1 fighter jets.
Yeah, exactly.
That everyone has the keys to, but
which is dangerous.
Which is more dangerous for people that don't know what they're doing. But for creative community, those who are adopting AI, and as I said, those film directors with 10 plus 20 years experience, and creatives or both, whatever, who are adopting those tools and taking the time. It's not, you can't just learn it overnight to use them properly, to use all the tools properly, right? Spending like a good year to 18 months, kind of at least kind of learning tools on top of your craft. They're the type of people who benefit from it. And that's why we're kind of, you know, utilizing the best people on earth to go on that same journey with us to get to that level of craft. And so it's an exciting time for us, because the better the tools get, the more efficient and more creative our roster can get, and we can get with our roster as well.
Yeah, which is, you know, really amazing. You know, it's an amazing place to be playing in. And, you know, like, let's face it, the beast is out of the cage, AI. It's not going back in the cage. So it's like, let's embrace it. It's here. Let's use it as opposed to it using us. And that's what we're doing.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
We love to do some quick fire rounds.
Yeah.
Quick fire questions to close things out. You guys obviously have gone through a lot of leadership journey, and now you founded your own organization, your own business. What is the one thing that you might have done differently leading into kicking off your business, that if you look back, I know it's only 6 months or 9 months ago, if you were, oh, shit, I wish we'd done that a little bit different leading into what we just started, what would be that one thing?
Do you know what?
Yeah.
One thing is like, and it's not far because I think we've pretty much nailed the timing. if anything, we had this idea for, you know, since Can Line's 24, and then
sitting there having a beer together
into proper execution, you know, like, and thinking about it, the plan and whatever, and finding the roster, like, you know, from January or whatever. It would have been lovely, the timing, if we got in just before Google VO3.
Oh yeah,
Just that's the only thing. I mean, it's only small things because I mean, I know no one kind of thinks about it, but it's like, we didn't launch this once VO3 came out, like, and like the ability to talk. We like, it would have been nice to go, yeah, we did it, and then the ability, like, before all the slop came out.
Yeah.
You know, like.
But I think honestly, like, I wouldn't change a thing.
No,
I would truly. I think since that beer in can to today, sitting with you guys today, literally, I look back and it's been a roller coaster of fun. You know, building this, you know, with Marcus, this brand, building a production company that's gone global. We didn't think it would go global, but it went global overnight. And honestly, I mean, to your point, I truly don't think we could have launched aiCandy any earlier than we launched, maybe a week or two.
Yeah.
That's right. That's before the end.
It was you know, that close, where, you know, while it's been an idea in inception since that beer, but we needed all these pieces of the puzzle to fall into place, and the last piece fell in May.
Yeah, nice.
And we launched June. Yeah, so maybe 2 weeks earlier, but truly it's been an amazing ride. Personally, wouldn't change it, you know, change a thing, and it's been fun.
There's a lot of people out there wanting to start their own businesses and start their own consultancies or build products. What would be the one advice you might give to someone doing that, going on that journey? Just do it. Just get started. Get started.
There's been, like, I don't know. I kind of feel like Kent's probably the same. Like, we've, especially the last three kind of places we've probably both been at, each just kind of been part of helping build other agencies. And you're like, look back and it's like, why don't I just do that myself? And
so true.
You know, like, you've been, you know, burning the midnight oil, kind of like working your ass off, and it's for someone else's bottom line. Like, you're just working for a salary. It's like, wow, I could have done this. But I mean, you know, the silver lining is we did this at the right time when AI came, because we couldn't have timed this any better. So maybe that was just the training for the time for this to happen.
To see to see what's coming.
Exactly, because if it would have been a completely different business if I started this 10 years ago, right?
We wouldn't be able to do what we're doing if we didn't have the skills and experience of 20 plus years under our belt. We wouldn't, you know, so we're properly utilizing, you know, our skills and experience to allow us to do what we're doing today. But I guess, look, in answer to your question, just do it. You know, like, I like it. Like, it is the best thing we've ever done. You know, we often joke it's the best idea we've ever had, launching aiCandy. And, you know, I remember the night before we launched, you know, it's like a shit, here we go. You know, like, it's on.
It's done.
And literally, like, you know, boom on the press release and boom on the website going live, and it's just like, oh, and then see what happens.
It was like, it was kind of daunting at first. Like, you know, like this isn't like starting another advertising agency or another specialist PR agency or another specialist digital content, whatever. Right? This is like an AI film production company with, you know, creative and film production company. No one's done that, like, in Australia. And to be honest, you know, there was an article from the Little Black Book that from the UK that was asked about kind of, you know, people in a similar space to us, kind of, you know, what they'd been doing over the last six to 12 months, and, you know, how they ideated and what their ethos was and whatever. And we were the last of the six, and they looked for the very best in the world. And she's like, when we talk through our experience, you know, of, you know, award-winning kind of creative and production and working with big brands, blah, 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 bringing that into the AI film production space and our ethos, our production, you know, process, et cetera, et cetera. She's like, wow, you guys have the most unique offering in the world in the commercial art and commercial and marketing space, right? So, which was lovely to hear, because, like, we planted the flag as Australia's first, but really we're kind of like first in the world in terms of what we're offering to market.
for you know, as
I love that because that's what we're about as well. It's like putting Australia on the map for something that's new, different, and like changing the traditional ways of work.
Because people like, you know, like the content people, two-man bands doing, or in the film space, kind of, you know, hybrid production, all that sort of thing. And we do hybrid as well for production companies too, but there are more in the feature film space. But in terms of the commercial and marketing space, like it's kind of, you know, we had the best offering, and going to market with that was a scary thing because it's like no one's done it. It's like so we were really pioneering the space.
Yeah,
pioneering this space completely, which was kind of scary, but like we're so proud of what we've done now. Like they're not only starting our own thing, but also doing something that nobody's ever done before. Like, and it's kind of, when we look back, we constantly over our Google Meets give ourselves a little high five across the camera every now and then. That's our little thing. It's like, you know, like we nailed another client, or it's like, this is happening, man. Like this is working. Like, and it's only because of, you know, our combined experience and like our passion and like what we want to bring to the world. It's like all these things are coming together, and it's, you know, and it's like, as Ken said, I wouldn't have done this with anyone else, you know, besides Kent as well. Like he's
finding a co-founder to bring things together. It makes the biggest difference.
It really does. It's a, you know, it's a professional marriage. You know, like having the partner,
spending more time than your partners.
Totally.
People don't realize that.
Being on the same, you know, wavelength.
Way good at work.
Being on the same wavelength and having the same vision. You know, it's hard to find. In someone, and when you do, it's a really cool thing. Yeah.
Well, guys, it's been an amazing chat. I really appreciate your time coming. Anything you want to shout out about the business, or any
I think we've
prompts that you want to put?
Let's make the impossible.
Yeah. Love it. Thank you, Marcus. Thank you, Ken.
Thanks for having us.
Ready to hit first. Thank you, everyone.
Cheers.
See you in the next one.